and looks like the last two are the ones we're gonna look at today. So, first of all, I want to say like these questions are weird, because just the concept of scope is a little weird, right? It's very different from like loops. It's less like concrete, right? And you're really dealing with a concept versus like an actual data structure, like we're gonna learn today about arrays, right? This is like how do the rules of scope work? How can we use it to our benefit? So no worries if it was confusing. It's confusing to me. So okay, this first one is called sniper scope, right? It's a pun. Each of the functions in sniper scope asks you to make a prediction. Will agent in scope be equal to true or false? The test for this problem will pass if your prediction is correct. Note that the tests for each of these functions run in the same order in which they're defined. Okay, so it's best to get each test to pass before moving on to the next function. If you get a prediction wrong, try to understand the observed behavior before moving on. Okay, so basically there are a bunch of functions, right? And within each function, you basically have to kind of like examine what it does and try to predict, right, whether this variable agent in scope is going to be true or false, right? And your answer you put here, right? It says your Boolean prediction here. So here you put either true or false, and then to try to get the test to pass. And obviously you can just guess and get it 50% of the time, but you want to try to understand why that's happening. So with whenever you're like confused, it's like how this function is being called by the test, right? Just look at the test itself, right? So if we go to the specs, right? It says we have 6 specs and 6 failures. So basically we have 6 failing tests. And you always want to start with the first one. And so to see where the tests are, you just scroll down and you'll see here, right? Describe odd job. Odd job, right, should return true. Okay, should return true. So actually this isn't a great example because this just tells you the answer, right? This says, okay, just put true and you're going to be right. So ignore what I just said. But for most questions, it'll be helpful to look at the test and see what it expects as an answer. Okay, so we know it's going to return true. Let's try to see why. So this function, right, says agent in scope, right, is a variable. And we're going to assign this variable to something, okay? And we're going to assign it to whatever this evaluates to. So bond triple equals 007. Okay, so this is a comparison, right? Specifically, it's a strict comparison, right? It's a strictly equals comparison. Are these two things literally the same thing? And so what is bond? Is this variable defined in this function? No, right? So what do? To try to find it, we expand our scope, and we look out here, and we see, okay, there's a match, right? 007, so 007 takes the form of bond here. Now we're saying 007, this string, equals 007, this string. And are they the same thing? Yes, they are the same, right? So this basically just transforms into true, because they're the same thing. So now agent in scope is true, okay? And so here, right, this is trying to return what, you're trying to guess what agent in scope is equal to, right? And according to this, like agent in scope is true, right? And so your prediction is going to be true, like this. Does that make sense? So you want your prediction to match whatever this value is, okay? So that was the first one, and then once you do one, you can just collapse it, right? Okay, Goldfinger. Goldfinger, interestingly, right, takes a variable, takes an argument, right? It's passed an argument, okay? So what does that mean? That means this function, when you execute it, when you invoke this function, you have to give it something, okay? And you basically want to test, is the thing that it's given equal to 007? Well, I don't know what it's given, right? We have to find out what it's given. So let's look. And see down here. So we did this one. It's Goldfinger. Okay, here it is. So this test is running Goldfinger, right? It executes Goldfinger, and it executes it with what? Nothing. It passes in nothing in here, right? If Goldfinger is a blender, right? It's as if you're running the blender with nothing inside of it. That's fine. It's still going to run, but just know that you're not giving it anything. You're not giving any like fruits or something. Okay. So what does that mean? That means when this function runs, when this function is called, the test is calling this function with nothing. So if you call this function with nothing, what does bond become? Undefined, right? This becomes undefined if you call this function with nothing, okay? And so is undefined equal to 007? Are they the same thing? No, right? They're not. So this should be false. Does that make sense? So basically we're like, is this thing the same thing as 007? Well, what is this? This thing is whatever's passed into this function. Whatever, like when someone like turns on this blender, whatever they decide to give me, that thing is going to be this. Okay? Well, they didn't give us anything. When they called the function, they called it with nothing. Right? So this is undefined. And so undefined is not 007. Give you a super quick example, right? It's hard because like the functions are really like far apart. But if I have a function that expects a number, and in here I console log the number is, and then num, and I call a logger with like 5. Okay, so we're gonna see the number is 5, right? Because 5 is passed into here, so 5, like num kind of takes the form of 5, and now it's 5 now, so number is 5, right? But if I don't pass in anything, if I call logger with nothing, it's like I'm using this function that expects me to give it something, but I'm not giving it anything, right? And so if I don't give it anything, it's just gonna default to the undefined form, right? If I call this function, right, with nothing, that thing that it's expecting is gonna be undefined because literally it wasn't given anything, right? Same thing here. Goldfinger is a function that expects one argument. So we have to give it something, right? And the test down here gives it nothing. It's like I'm calling this function. I am calling this function successfully, but I'm calling it with nothing, right? So that bond expected argument, this thing becomes undefined, and so it's like we're saying, A, is undefined equal to 007? No, it's not. Okay. So something that would get this to pass is, you know, if we put 007 in here, right? If we deliberately passed in 007 as a value. But you don't want to do that. You don't want to like edit the tests. Okay. Any questions on this one? Yeah.
So I guess I'm just so
Yeah.
we wouldn't be able to figure out the answer to that until we actually go down and look at the actual queen function being called.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So
then,
yeah.
I guess it's just a little confusing, like when I read how it's being called.
Yeah.
Like in my syntax of like the.
Yeah, it is.
Let return value equal Goldfinger.
It is really weird. It is definitely weird. Okay, so let me bring this up here. Okay, just so it's like side by side. So this is like what's being tested. Okay, and so we execute this function, right, with nothing. Okay, so this is undefined. So now this becomes undefined, right? So it's undefined equal to 007 now. So this is false. Agent in scope is false. Okay. And then, okay, so remember that this is false, okay? And then we have prediction. We set that as false. Okay, so these are both false, right? And then we're returning, is agent in scope, whatever this is, which is false, is that the same thing as whatever we predicted, which is also false? is false equal to false? As in other words, is our prediction correct? Right? Is our prediction what this is? Right? And if so, if false equals to false, that's actually true, right? Because they are the same thing. And so we return that. So we return true out of this function, okay? And so what does that mean? That means this function, after we execute it, becomes true. Because that's what's derived out of this function, the return value. Okay, so now return value is true. And we expect that return value to be true. And you'll notice if you look at all the tests, like all the expectations should be true. Like all of them say like it should be true, it should be true, it should be true. And the reason is because this prediction has to be correct, right? If we guess the prediction to be true and the agent and scope is false, then we're going to return true equals false, which is false. And so we return false, so the return value is false, and the false is not true, so that we fail the test. Really tricky. Yes?
Is the reason why bond in this instance, is the reason why it's not grabbing the label variable because we're defining it locally?
Yes, really good point.
Bond would be true, right?
Amazing, yeah. So really, really good point, right? So the question was, actually bond is defined up here as 007, so why don't we just grab that, right? The reason that doesn't happen is because JavaScript is lazy, right? It first looks inside of these curly braces, like is bond defined anywhere? No, it's not. And then where do we look? We look in the argument list. Is it defined here? Yes, it is. Okay, now we're going to use this as the value for bond, whatever it is, and it happens to be undefined, right? We don't then go up here and be like, oh, I do see 007 here. I'm just going to use that. It doesn't do that. It doesn't give you the benefit of the doubt. But like you mentioned, what was your name?
Thomas.
Thomas. Yeah, like Thomas mentioned, if you take this out, right, this should actually work, right? Because bond can't find bond in here, so it resorts to this thing, the global scope, and it can grab it. And so it grabs 007, and so now this is true. So our prediction should be true. Does that make sense? Good point. Good point. Okay. Scaramanga.
Here, I want to quick question.
Oh yeah, sorry.
If bond originally was defined using const, is that an example of when const would prevent the argument from redefining it?
Yes. Yes. So you're saying if we did this, yep. So this would work also, and nothing would break here. The only thing this would disallow is like if we try to do this, bond equals like something else, right? But we're not reassigning at any point, so this function should work whether this is const or let. But later on, if we want to redefine bond, then we wouldn't be able to do it as const. Cool. Okay. So we got Goldfinger. Scaramanga takes a target. Okay, well let's just bring this up, okay? I'm gonna bring this up. I'm just gonna bring yeah, I'll bring this up here. Just so we can see it right next to each other. Okay. So what's happening here? Scaramanga, right, is being called with nothing. So what does that mean? That means target is undefined, right? Okay, great. So target, which holds on to the value undefined, we are now assigning it bond. Well, what's bond? Where is bond? Is it in this function? No. Is it in here? No. So let's keep looking for it, right? Oh, we found it right here. So bond is 007. And what are we doing with this? We're assigning 007 to target. So it's like we're saying target equals 007. Okay? So now target is 007. We know it used to be undefined here, but that actually doesn't matter. That's just like a red herring. This came in as undefined, and then we reassigned it to be 007. We can do that, okay? Now target is 007. Okay. And then here, interestingly, we're doing agent and scope is bond. Is bond equal to 007? Well, what is bond? Bond is still 007. Bond isn't in here anywhere, it's up there, right? And it's defined as 007. So that's 007 equals 007? Yes, it is. So this should be true. Oops, I brought this stuff in here. Yeah, so a lot of this was actually like just in here to throw you off, right? Like this means the target doesn't do anything, right? This comes in as undefined, and then we reassign it to be 007. But like none of that matters. All we care about is bond equal to 007. Does that make sense? Yes.
Does the color of bond mean anything that's yellow instead of blue?
I'm sure it has some meaning. I'm not totally sure. Yeah, like sometimes the colors change depending on if it's like defined or not. But I don't know what the exact rules are in CodePen. Okay, so does this one make sense? Like there's a bunch of stuff here to throw you off, but really what matters is bond equal to 007, right? Any questions with this one? Okay, cool. Okay, Doctor No. Okay, so here we are taking bond, right? And we're oh, this is interesting. We're not reassigning. We are creating a new variable. We're creating a brand new variable that's different from the bond up there, right? Because we can have different variables in different scopes. Okay, brand new variable called bond, and we're calling it body double. Okay, so now we're gonna see is bond equal to 007. Okay, well where's bond? Body double. Do you think we're gonna do body double or 007 up there? Body double, right? As soon as it finds one, it's good. Okay, so now body double is 007. Is that true? No, body double is not 007. This should be false. Cool. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. This looks a little weird. Okay. So here we want to see. Okay. So JAWS is past agent, right? JAWS is past agent. And you might be like, okay, well, I want to see what this function is given. Like, is this going to be undefined? Is it going to be given some value? Doesn't matter, because here we are immediately reassigning it, right? Doesn't matter what they give us, because here we're taking agent, and we're like, whatever you used to hold on to, you now hold on to bond. Okay, agent equals bond. Agent is now holding on to bond. Well, what is bond in this scenario? It's not here, and it's up there, right? As 007. So it's like we're doing agent equals 007. Okay? Agent is 007. Great. And then here, right, we are assigning bond. That's interesting. We're reassigning bond to be body double. Well, which bond is this talking about? Which scope is it in? It's all the way up there. We're reassigning that bond equals 007 from 007 to body double. Okay? So basically this thing up here is reassigned to body double. Okay? It's a little random. And then here, right, we're like, is agent equal to 007? Is agent equal to, well, what is agent? 007. So yeah, they're the same. Yep.
So why doesn't while doing you take your name like bond or
So why wouldn't take this one?
that one wouldn't take that agent equals bond? Why wouldn't take that first one? Why wouldn't that be the case?
So agent, right, is this right here, right? And what is this? This is bond,
Okay.
right? And what is bond at the time of this line executing, right? This was 007, and then we changed it.
Okay.
Okay.
After.
Yeah,
So
afterward.
it's not reading the second line because it's immediately looking for agent first. It's not going down.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly, and that's a really good point that is can be confusing. So like, let's say I have let num equals 5, okay, and I'm gonna say let new num equals num. So new number equals num. So what is new number then? Right, console log new num. New num is 5, right? Now, I'm gonna do num plus plus. So what that's gonna do is it's gonna take this number and it's gonna add 1 to it. Okay. So now I'm gonna console log num. The original number is 6 because I added 1 to it, right? But what happens if I console log new num? What do you think this will be? Do you think this is going to be updated to 6? Or do you think it's going to stay at 5? It's going to stay at 5. Yeah. Exactly. So what we did here is we took the number 5 and we assigned the number 5 to new num. So now new num is 5. Both of these things are 5. And we console log new num, it's 5. And then we take num and we add 1 to it. We take num and we add 2. So this becomes 6. Great. But just because we add 1 to this doesn't mean like this one is also added to. Okay? Like the new num, like we have 2 different numbers. They're both 5. And when I make one 6, that's not going to magically make this other one 6 also. Okay? Like only one of these is affected. Let me give you an example. Here we're like doing some sort of cloning, right? This is Mary Kate. And then we say, okay, actually it's going to be a clone of Mary Kate. Okay? Now we have 2 different people in our universe. And what we do is we give Mary Kate a new arm. Okay? Now Mary Kate has 3 arms. Is that going to like also give her twin a new arm? No, we're only changing one thing. Even though that the new thing was based off of the original thing, all subsequent changes only impact them like separately. Okay? So, similar thing here. And this is actually a really tough concept. So I'm glad you asked. Where once agent is assigned to the value of bond, which is 007, that's it. It's going to be 007. Okay? And then later when we change bond to something else, that's not going to go up here and then also change agent. This is like we like got like a snapshot right here. Okay? If we did this again, then we're going to get body double. Right? Because at this point, bond is body double, so we take that and put it on agent. Right? So the order matters. Okay. Great. El Chifre. I butchered that, I'm guessing. Okay, so this one, agent is assigned to bond. Well, what is bond? Okay, so you would think so. You would think so, right? But, it's body double. Why do you think this is actually body double?
Because it reassigned the global.
Yes. It's not because of this line. It's because of this sneaky previous line. So right here, remember we changed the global variable up there from 007 to body double? Remember that was updated? And we put that here. Like this is now body double, right? So if that's body double, where am I? So bond up there is now body double. So now that by the time this function runs, we're running this function with bond being body double. Okay, so now we take body double and we send it to agent because it was affected by the previous function. Yes.
I thought something in a block could read something in another block.
So it's not reading something from another block, right? It's reassigning something from the global scope. So this function right here, right? Reassign the globally available variable bond to be body double.
Mm-hmm.
And it can do that because it has access to scope.
Yeah.
And so now globally for everyone, that bond is now body double. Okay, and then now next time another function runs and tries to say, okay, what value is stored there, it's going to be body double for them too.
If you put let in front of that bond, does
Yes.
that change? Like
That would fix things.
okay.
That would fix things. Great. So this is like a global reassignment that affects the next test. Okay? And to fix this, you can just put a let in front of this. And what let would do is body double is not going to reassign this global thing. It's just going to be like sequestered to this scope right here. Really, really good point. And this brings us back to scope best practices, right? Try not to, I mean, just don't even try. Don't reassign any global variables. Don't reassign anything that's defined globally. Because if you do, another function, literally another function that is depending on that global variable to be a certain value, there's going to be like unexpected consequences, right? This should be predictable, right? It's globally defined for a reason. It's because it's so that all these functions can read from it, right? So to make it a lot more predictable, don't reassign global variables. Imagine the global variable as like our water source, okay? And you, for some reason, want to like color it green, right? New York City tap water. You want to color it green. If you want to do that in your own home, right? Don't go to the lake, color the whole thing green, and ruin it for everyone, right? Don't pollute the global scope. That's what everyone depends on. If you want to change something, do it within yourself, okay? So, down here, right? We've assigned agent to be body double, not 007, body double, okay? And then we're reassigning bond to be body double. That is totally redundant. Bond is already body double. We're reassigning it to be body double again. So this is just here to throw you off, okay? Now here, agent. Is agent equal to 007? Well, what's agent? Agent is body double. So they are not the same. And so this should be false. Does that make sense? This last test is a really good example of why you shouldn't manipulate global variables, because it screws things up for other people, for other functions. Okay, any questions on this stuff? Okay. Yeah.
So that's why it's important that if you create a global variable, you do const.
Mm-hmm. Yes. You said that too, right? So if we make this const, we're just gonna see like a crazy error, I'm guessing. Assignment to a constant variable, right? It complains. So in here, this is illegal. I shouldn't be able to reassign something. So yes, whenever you define a global variable, you use const. But that's not gonna like fix these tests in this case, but like use const. Great point. Some really good insights. Okay.